Now, more broadly, there's a big debate going on about the future of Boris Johnson right now. Do you think he should resign?
Yes.
Right. And, I mean, Douglas Ross, who's the head of the Scottish Conservatives, I mean, he was one of the first people to sort of come out and say so publicly. I mean, if Boris Johnson clings on, should Douglas Ross be considering his position?
Look, you know, I think you will find very few, if any, people in the Scottish Parliament and probably across Scotland who think anything other than that Boris Johnson should resign. You know, he appears to have been serially breaching COVID regulations, but perhaps most importantly for somebody in his position, he has apparently not been honest and truthful about it in the accounts he's given to the House of Commons. So these are really serious allegations levelled at the Prime Minister. Look, I'm a critic of Boris Johnson at the best of times. I don't think it's any secret that I think the office of Prime Minister in the interests of the country would be enhanced by Boris Johnson's departure. But there are big issues of trust and integrity at stake now. And that's why I do think Boris Johnson should resign. Douglas Ross, I think, was right to call for his resignation. If that resignation doesn't happen, then, yeah, I think there are questions about how the Scottish Conservatives can ever ask anybody to vote for a party led by Boris Johnson. But perhaps if you can encourage him to come onto your programme, these are questions that Douglas Ross is probably better positioned to answer than I am.
Absolutely. I mean, Boris Johnson would be a big loss for you, though. I mean, he's been a great recruiting sergeant for the SNP.
Well, look, Boris Johnson is opposed, I think, by many people across Scotland. I would guess, and I think opinion polls bear this out, by the majority of people in Scotland. But it's not just about Boris Johnson, the individual. It's about a Conservative Party that enabled and facilitated somebody like Boris Johnson becoming Prime Minister in the first place. It's not as if these, you know, character flaws that people are now seeing very clearly in Boris Johnson weren't known about before. So, yeah, Douglas Ross has now called for his resignation, but Douglas Ross enthusiastically supported Boris Johnson in his attempts to become leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister. And of course for Scotland, frankly, there's a bigger issue at stake here, that we have Prime Ministers and governments at Westminster that are elected regardless of what people in Scotland think. You know, people in Scotland haven't voted majority or in anywhere close to that Conservative in my entire lifetime, and yet for most of my lifetime we've been governed by Tory governments. There's a systemic democratic deficit at the heart of how Scotland is governed, which is one of the many reasons, as you know, I support Scotland becoming an independent country so that we can choose our own governments rather than have governments we don't want foisted upon us.